All right, just coming up to 6:30 a.m. on Saturday, April 27th. I'm in Calgary, been here since Thursday, so thought I'd give you a quick shot of my view out of my hotel room over the golf course. This view is probably going to change quite a bit later today, where they're calling for 15 centimeters of snow, so thought I'd take a before shot and we'll take an after shot and see what this looks like tomorrow. All right, as promised, here's our 6 p.m. video update of the weather. It's looking a little worse out there, I would say. A little snowy, a little icy, a little blustery. Can't really see the golf course much anymore. Anyway, spring in Calgary. I gotta get out there and go for dinner. Sunday morning, April 28th, just coming up to 6:30 a.m. And there's the aftermath of the storm from yesterday. Be a little hard to find your golf ball out there today. Yeah, pretty windy yesterday. Chairs are all strewn about. Anyway, we are on our way to work. So we'll call the dog sled and should be at work in about 10 minutes or so. All right, guys, welcome back. Tuesday, April 30th, just after 8 p.m. A little bit of late start today, but a start nonetheless. Good to be back out in the garage after being away since last Friday out west, out in Western Canada. So this probably video is going to be preceded by some footage of the weather out there, which was not great. Anyway, happy to be home. The weather's not much better here, but there's no snow at least. Anyway, we are going to play around with the bike a little bit tonight. We're going to do a power hour, and I think what we'll try to do tonight is we'll get the exhaust back on the bike for starters. Then we want to clean this table up a little bit and get it out of the way so we can start working on the front of the bike. And we want to do something with this badge as well, the stock badge. We've got a little plan for that. So those are the things I want to accomplish. I'm not going to finish the bike tonight because I have an Indian head light for the front fender that I'm going to be installing. That's at my mailbox that I have to pick up tomorrow. So hopefully by tomorrow night, possibly, we might get this bike back on the ground off the lift, and everything should be reassembled. That's the hope for tomorrow anyway. So anyway, for tonight, we're going to work on installing the exhaust. That'll be our plan for tonight, and any extra we do after that is just bonus. Here we go. All right, guys, the exhaust is on. It took a little longer than I expected. It's just after 10 o'clock. I was having a lot of problems with this front bolt here, just on the back pipe, just in here. That was a bit of a bitch. So it took a bit of patience to get that going. Had the pipe on and off a few times. Anyway, she's on now. Looking good. Just give her a quick shine up. So I'm not sure whether I should continue on or go in. Probably time to go in, I think. Work day tomorrow. We'll probably get out of here tomorrow night after work, and we'll continue on with the front fender and the rest of the bits as mentioned, and hopefully get it back on the ground maybe tomorrow night. All right, we'll talk to you then. Thanks for watching. All right, guys, welcome back to the Taj Mahal, Wednesday, May 1st, just after 5 p.m. Got our Indian head for the front fender. So we've done a little bit of a cleanup. We've got rid of the table, done a little bit of a sweep up, put some tools away. We got our front fender up in the stand over here, and we are just about to wipe it down, and we're going to pinstripe it. That'll be the next thing that's going to go on the bike. I'm going to put it on the bike. I'm going to position the Indian head where I want it, and then figure out how to mount it. And obviously it needs to be wired up as well. So we're going to do that. We'll get the pinstriping done first. And then, like I said, we'll go ahead and we'll get the fender mounted up. You can see we're very scientifically marking out the holes to drill in my fender for the Indian head light. So a piece of masking tape and a Sharpie. No measurements required. I think we'll take a few measurements before we go, but I just eyeballed it where it's at, and we'll take a few measurements to confirm that it's fairly close to being center. I'm usually a pretty good judge as far as line's concerned, but anyway, we shall see once I break the measuring tape out. And then disaster set in. Well, not really a disaster, just disappointment. So I've snapped the bottom stud off, and I'd actually read that these bottom studs were a little suspect. I didn't think I had tightened it very well, but anyway, obviously I've over-tightened it, or it's a crappy part. I'm going to blame it on the fact that it's a crappy part. Anyway, we're working on a solution to the problem. We're going to put a through stud all the way through to the back of the fender. We've got a ground cable here ready to hook up for our, the body actually would normally ground, the body would normally ground to a metal fender. This is a plastic fender, so we're going to attach a ground to the nut on the bottom of this top post, and then we're going to attach this to the frame of the bike, probably through one of the bolts holding the fender to the forks, and we'll go from there. We're going to obviously test the light before we put it on the bike to make sure it works, but at least we'll run the wiring out of the fender and probably up the clutch cable is probably the way we're going to do it, but we haven't figured that out yet. So we're muddling our way along, but just thought I'd let you know that snap that bottom stud off, but we've got sort of working on a solution. All right, guys, that took an awfully long time to get that fitted. It's just coming up to 8:30. Doesn't look too bad. It's a little bit high in the front, but got it the best I can. It's on there pretty solidly anyway. Not really happy with my pinstripe, so I'm probably going to redo my pinstripe. It flattens out quite a bit towards the forks, so I think we're going to redo that pin and make it a little more graceful than it is currently. So we'll redo that. Anyway, probably going to take a break for dinner. Not sure whether we'll come back out here tonight or not. Things are not going that great tonight. It's taken me an awfully long time to do stuff, so may just call it a night and get back out here another night, probably tomorrow night. But we'll see. We'll see how we feel after something to eat. I figured I'd give you a quick shot of it lit up. Maybe we'll turn the lights out and see what it looks like with the lights out. All right, there's the Indian Chief. I don't know how well it's going to focus. That looks pretty cool. I don't think it's going to focus on that, but hey, it looks good. All right, guys, just coming up to 10:20, and I think we're going to call it a night. I did come back out. I did get a new crash bar today in the mail, so I thought I'd try to fit it. And it fits not bad. I need to work a little bit on one of the bolt locations up here where the horns go. It's just one that's not quite lining up. It's being a bit of a bitch. So, and then I've got to figure out how to mount my horn again. So it needs to be spaced out a little bit as it interferes with the top of this crash bar. But other than that, I think it looks pretty good. I was going to paint it black, but I think it's got a bit of chrome on there anyway. The airbox and the exhaust and the the Indian head and the chrome surround, the mirrors, etc. So it's not completely blacked out. So I think it looks probably okay being in chrome. But we'll decide upon that once the bike is completely back together. Anyway, like I said, we're going to call it a night, and we'll get back out here tomorrow. Have a good night, thanks. All right, guys, Thursday, May 2nd, just after 5:30 p.m., and back on the bike tonight. We're going to finish up the wiring on that Indian headlight and run that outside the fender and up the clutch cable. And we're also going to establish a ground somewhere close to probably one of the fork bolts. We'll pick up a ground there, hopefully. So we're going to do that first, and then we are going to hopefully get the front tire on today. It's been a while I've been saying that, so that would be good tonight if I could get that on here, get it cleaned up and on the bike, and then eventually get the bike off the stand, or off the jack stand, and back on its side stand. That would be great. So that's the plan. That's what we're working towards, so we'll continue on. Okay, just moving on to the stock badges. I'm going to try to remove the old adhesive from the back. I've got the heat gun handy. Got to watch the heat. I don't want to melt the badge. Apparently these are fairly rare, so I don't want to destroy it. I do want to put it back on the tank eventually. Anyway, we're still working on the wiring. We're just rigging up a way to keep the wires to the top of the inside of the fender. I've got some contact cement glue. I've wrapped it in shrink wrap, so we're actually trying to protect it and trying to have something to glue to at the same time. I've also got Les is going to drop by some of that aluminum foil tape, and that stuff's extremely sticky. So I think I'll try to cover it with a piece of that aluminum foil tape just to keep it from dropping down. I've also got it wired around the inside frame for the fender, so it shouldn't drop down, but I don't know how much clearance there is between the top of the fender and the tire, so I want to keep it as tight as possible. Anyway, back to this badge. We'll see what we can do. All right, guys, bit of a milestone moment. It's back on its own wheels, and I think it's looking not too bad. Obviously need to finish that tank emblem. It's fighting me as far as the adhesive is concerned. I got some WD-40 on the back of it now. The heat's not really helping that much. It's helping somewhat. I may have to invest in some Goo Gone to get this off a little bit easier. So we'll probably end up doing that. A few more things to do on the bike. I need to get the horn reattached. The bracket for the crash bar shares took the mounting holes for the horn, and I've got to find a new location to mount the horn. It did come with a little bracket I think that I can utilize. I'm still having a little bit of a lineup issue with this one hole here. I don't know if you can see that or not, for the crash bar, but the other fastener is in there, and it's located obviously in the two fasteners on the bottom. So I think it's not looking too bad. It's definitely in need of a wash. It's very, very dusty, and the fenders are definitely in need of another polish. I've got greasy handprints all over them, pretty much everywhere in the tank, rear fender, everywhere. Seat can be given a good wipe down with some leather cleaner as well, but for the most part it's done, so we'll concentrate on the small little finishing bits before we get it outside. Alright, Friday, May the 3rd, 9:10 p.m. We're out doing a power hour. We've got some Goo Gone, so we've just sprayed this down about an hour or so ago, and we're going to see if this is going to help at all. I've got my doubts. Anyway, we'll see if it's going to work and save us a little bit of time and effort. Well, that was the least fun job of the whole project. Anyway, we've got them looking pretty good. I think what I'll do now is I'm just going to take them inside and give them a good bath in soap and water, and then we'll move on to the next stage, which is going to be a little paint project. So I've got some plastic paint, apple red, multi-service bonds to plastic, wood and metal. I've got my little paintbrush set here. So all we're going to do on this is we are going to paint the V. We'll probably scuff sand it just a tiny little bit. We're just going to paint the V in this red to match our pinstripe on the bike. So like I said, I'm going to go in and wash these. We'll come out and we'll scrub that a tiny little bit, just with maybe a little 220 grit just on the V, and we'll do a quick paint job. We'll let it dry overnight and we'll stick them on the bike tomorrow. All right, there's the first coat on. That's kind of what we're going for. We're going for kind of an understated look. I mean, there are options to do the bullseye in red. There are options to do the bottom triangle in red, but I think I'm just going to do the V. I think I like that look the best. We'll keep adding coats. We'll probably do 3 or 4 coats. And I just wanted to check the color of the pinstripe versus the paint I picked, and it's pretty close. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but it's not an obvious difference. So anyway, looking good. We'll just let that dry between coats. It's taking a little longer. It's not that warm out here. I haven't got my glasses on, but I think it's about, let's see. It's just about 12 degrees Celsius, about 55 out in the garage, so that'll probably take a little while to dry. All right, guys, just coming up to 10:45, and I think we're going to call that good. So we'll let it dry overnight, and then we'll get out here and put them on the tank tomorrow. Hopefully they'll be dried by then and in good shape. So while I was waiting, I redid the pinstripe on the front fender where I wasn't happy with it, so that's done. So the last things to do obviously are to fix the badges on the tank. I still need to figure out a bracket for the horn, and I've still got one bolt hole location that's not lining up perfectly, so those are the things that we'll fix tomorrow. So down to minor things before we can maybe get it outside and give it a good wash. It's pretty darn dusty still from all the painting that we did in the garage. So we definitely need to give it a good wash at some point. So maybe we'll do that tomorrow, hopefully, if the weather's not bad. If not, we'll wait till Sunday, and we'll get it outside for a final shot and viewing. All right, guys, it's another day, Saturday, May 4th, and it's badge day today. So we've got the tank prepped, and we're just going to figure out where we want to stick the badges on. We've got some double-sided 3M tape here, trim adhesive tape, that we're going to use, or at least try to use, to stick these badges on. So we'll locate where we want to put them, and then we'll apply the adhesive, and we'll get them stuck on there. All right, badges are on. I think they look good with the highlighted V for Vulcan. Nice to be able to get it outside and outside of the garage where I can get back on the bike a little bit for a bit better video. Anyway, we've measured them out on both sides. They're pretty darn close. That looks good. Alright, so two things left. Wire the Indian headlight, or at least hook it up to power. And we've got that one bolt location that we have to fix on the crash guard. And we've got to mount the horn. So we'll do that, and then we'll go get some gas, fill up the tank, or put some gas in the tank at least. Maybe we'll fire it up and bring it outside. Sometimes it's the little things that take most of the time. Crash bar is installed, finally got those two bolts in the top mount, and we've installed the horn. The bracket they sent wasn't going to work, so I just did a custom thing. So that's on there well, checked it, it works. So I guess the last thing to do is to wire up the Indian head. Just get the wires coiled around outside here at the bottom. So we're going to figure out a ground location, and we're going to run that power wire up into, there's an auxiliary line behind the headlamp, so I'll have to check that and see which one is live with the key on, and we'll go from there. Alright, just checking to see if our ground wire works, and it seems to be working okay. So now we're going to run our power wire up into the headlight bucket, just for those that might be interested. I ran my ground wire right behind here, right behind this fork bolt, so you can just see the ground wire coming up, and I've got a shrink wrap tubing up to the connector. So that's what we've done for the ground wire. So we're going to run the power wire up the clutch cable and somewhere into the back of the bucket here. You can see where the wires go in, or maybe you can't, but that's where they go in. So we're going to pop this headlight off, and there should be a couple of auxiliary ports in there for me to plug into. So we'll see what we can do. Alright, I can see my connections in behind the headlight here, and if I take my test light, I've got the key on, and there's a live wire there with the key. So according to my test light, so we're going to wire it up to that guy. Alright, we have success. What I did basically is I changed the red wire out with a connector here all the way up, and we coiled a black wire around the spring for the clutch cable. We came up here, went through the rubber grommet, then we actually put a little bit of shrink wrap tubing on here for some protection, and ran it into the back of the headlight bucket, hooked it up in there with a bullet connector. We're going to put one little black tie wrap here just to keep that one cable up a little bit. We'll attach it to this this cable here. I don't have any black zip ties, if you can believe that. I've got every color under the sun except black. So I resisted the urge to put a blue one on. So we'll grab some black ones when we're out next time at the hardware store. Anyway, let's have a look. All right. So there we go. All right, so next thing, put the seat back on, and we'll go grab some gas, we'll fire it up. All right guys, we got her fired up. Unfortunately it's raining outside, so I can't get it outside. Anyway, it still starts and runs, all the lights work, signal lights work as they should, so I've got everything wired back up properly. Indian head looks good. All right. So I guess we'll call it done for now. The only thing else I need to do is to get it outside and give it a good wash. I do want to buff it again. I'm not happy with the buff job, so as I mentioned, I want to get a 3-inch buffer, electric buffer for it. And that should help me out a little bit. Other than that, we'll consider the project done. The only addition that I want to do is probably just some driving lights or passing lights, whatever you want to call them. I do have a bar coming, and I'm going to be looking for some lights, and that will be the only addition to this bike. So it's pretty much done. as you see it. Anyway, we'll turn it off for now. We'll upload this so you can see where I'm at. And then hopefully we'll be able to get it out in the driveway tomorrow. Maybe give it a quick wash as I'd mentioned. And maybe take another quick short video of it. All right, thanks for watching.